Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Battle Brothers Season 3. As today, honestly, we're just going for the gold. Our latest bout of trading left us just 2,000 shy of completing our current ambition, but we've got 2 strongholds pinged just over yonder. That should be more than enough to get it done. We'll knock those over, maybe trim some more fog in the process, and then head back to Hikmah. Figure things out from there. But primary goal today is just to get this ambition taken care of. Everything else is gravy. Crumbling ruins, unknown garrison. Currently night, but not too far from dawn. Could be nomads, could be undead. We'll need to prepare accordingly. So no stabbers. Should probably pull the... Well, no. You know what? We'll leave Giannis in. If it's nomads, he's fine. If it's skeletal undead, he'll have an edge against their shields. Just gotta be careful with him is all. Could go double gunner. Guns are pretty versatile. Yeah, why not? And here we go. Let's see what we got. As the raiders once again trek their way across the never-ending sands, they set up camp for the night near some low, seemingly long-abandoned ruins. Their initial scouting forays revealing no signs of life, nor unlife for that matter. The night passes uneventfully, the raiders chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool. But come the following morn, they're suddenly roused by the sounds of shifting sands and clattering metals, quickly joined by a chorus of alarmed shouts, as the raiders realize the place was not so abandoned after all. The inhabitants had merely been buried, and many a long hour overnight had been spent burrowing back to the surface to confront the intruders into their realm. Thankfully, the strange skeletal skirmishers still took the time to march back into formation before they began their final advance, giving the raiders time to hastily throw together a formation of their own. And once again, battle was joined. The thwip of arrows clattering off old, dried bones. A blast on north. A trio of figures sent staggering ever so slightly. Rax running up in the wake of the blast, parting the smoke with wild swings of his axe. Diego is swiftly at his side, holding the north. Rassel moving up on south, with Random coming up behind. And one by one, the rest of the raiders took their positions. Rook directing the last few into place, pausing just briefly to run another skeletal figure through. Seeing his chance, Giannis darts in, smashing the compromised cadaver. And lines drawn. The battle begins in earnest. More projectiles flying, no flesh to tear on these figures' bones. But still, they're thrown off balance. And Rax attacks, tearing down one of the 2 skeletal shieldmen standing before him. Bronze and moldering bone parting in one savage swing. Random following up, cracking his sensor across 3 more. Though they do yet still stand, albeit in fractured formation. Rassel takes a wide swing, smashing down 2 splintered skirmishers. Seymore runs another through, though finds himself slightly stymied at the lack of vital organs to pierce, though he does hold it long enough for Rook and Cetrus to finish it off. Mal tears down the last shieldman on south. Well, except for that one, but he's not engaged yet. Whilst Giannis circles wide on north, not particularly keen to approach that veritable wall of pikes. The raiders duck and weave, parrying aside predictable thrusts. And the raiders push in, perhaps only really slowed by the cloud of choking gas on south, which does slightly complicate things. Yeah, Mal circles wide. More blasts from the backline gunners. Arrows continue to rain. And Rax wades in. Another departed, decisively reparted. Random cracks the helm and half a skull off another undead. Rook jabbing another as well. Sigmar steps up and swings. Another skull sent flying. Though he does hack and cough afterwards, caught up in a corrosive cloud. And Mal, not to be undone, wades forward as well, smashing down another skeletal foe. A minor ding on Rax. Moldering bronze glancing off heavy plate. And Rax returns the favor. Another undead undone. Diego times a thrust, then leaps to one side, letting Rax pass through. Rax stuns the last Legionnaire on south. Random making sure it doesn't last. And the rest of the raiders rally north. Cetrus and Giannis getting in some good swings. Though Rax still claims the kill, tearing the head off another torso. And the last lingering Legionnaire finally falls, smashed asunder by Sigmar's sword. A few minor bumps and bruises here and there, mostly on racks, and hey, look at that. That's a solid grand worth of loot right there. Very nice. Though I will say, would still like to run into our first honor guards or fallen priests. We only need like 4 more standard potions at this point. And 2 of them are from the ancient undead. Alright, let's go ahead and run through these level ups real quick. Still sitting on that perk point for Giannis, so Mark, who hits level 10. First gunner to do so, but I feel like this is pretty straightforward. Yeah, we already took Berserk, so we'll round that out with Killing Frenzy and then probably Recover. Plus 5 range. Plus 6 initiative. And, you know, given that everything else rolled pretty mediocre, plus 4 fatigue. As for Seymore, he is essentially a nimble two-hander, so similar build to Rax, who I did not just click on. Alright, well, you know what? We'll just play it simple and go for the usual trifecta. Berserk, Frenzy, Fearsome. That'll take him all the way out to 11. As for stats, oof, really flubbed that melee roll. Decent defense, but you know what? I think we're okay on RDEF, so let's go Resolve, which he definitely needs. Initiative, and then, and then MDEF. It does hurt a bit to pass up on that plus 4 RDEF, but I mean, he just really kind of doesn't need it. Really got to shore up that melee though, bud. Hopefully we can at least get you over 70. Backstab can only do so much. And on we go. We'll go ahead and peel off a bit of fog en route. Just on the off chance we spot anything interesting. Ooh, speaking of which. The ancient city. Once a thriving city, now but ruins, covered in ash. A fallen metropolis with many names. It has become an object of cultural and religious pride for North and South alike. Empire's End. Metropolis of Ash. The Annihilation. Whatever its name, the ancient city is now a vast, gray ruin. It sits beneath the mountain, missing its peak. Its once glorious shape obliterated in an enormous eruption. The explosion hit with such violence that shockwaves unfurled cobbled streets and sent the bricks showering over the city proper. Enormous granitic boulders cratered neighborhoods whole, and boiling debris vaporized all in its way. The flow of lava came last, smoldering much of the city in a black sludge, the edges of which pillowed and toed in bulbous contours, until it looked as though a cloud of black smoke had solidified. It is a horrid sight to behold, in part because the earthen rage also captured many victims in perpetuity. Gray casts of ancient humans still stand to this day, posed in manners most lively, like pairs shaking hands, one looking over a stove, another petting a dog. Of course, it is wholly within man's nature to see such relics of destruction and, distant as they are from its reality, flock to its remains, and vicariously revivify the violence through means of faith. Followers of the Gilder see it as a warning to not fall for profligacy and greed. Northerners see it as a clash between old gods, a rarity since the dawn of man. One faith or the other, both reside here in mutual respect for those whose lives were lost. Respectful for now, at least. But our fates will lead us here again in time. Right, so that's got to be part of the new Holy War event. the 4th crisis added by Blazing Deserts. I want to say I've got some limited experience with that one. Like, I played it in a casual campaign in my off time. But I don't really recall much about it. You know, on the one hand, I do kind of hope that we get the undead event this crisis cycle, but I wouldn't mind seeing that one either. Since, yeah, I don't really recall much about it. Enemy unknown. That's fine, we'll just go in as is. Not too worried about ancient undead these days. Oh, which it turns out this is not. Wow. That's barely even a fight. Well, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. Pole maces and flails can still do some serious damage. Still awestruck by the recent tour of the ancient city, the raiders continue to wend their way through ever more ruined ruins. Though, ruinous or not, some were still yet occupied, as evidenced by a sudden spattering of arrows, a startled group of nomads striking out, trying to ward off these unwary weapon-wielding strangers, only to find themselves suddenly faced by the raiders, who rarely wants to back down from a challenge, simply waded into the fray. Valen drew first blood, a missed toss still finding a mark. The second strike more on target, stabbing through a flailman's sternum. The rest of the raiders rushed in, doling out bloody wounds of their own. A shot from arrow pierced a peon's throat, with Rack swiftly following through. A savage swing, the head detached entirely. Alois moved up next, drawing a bead. Rassel hopping down from his perch as well, moving up on a mauler. Oof. And promptly set upon by the remaining flailer. Oh, goodness. And the mauler as well, the hammer finding its way around his shield. Val lunged in from behind, the poleman pierced. A swordsman likewise disarmed. Diego put down the one-armed bandit. Arrow shoulder checked an enemy archer. Trip came in from the side, ramming his rondel between the mauler's ribs. And Rax cut down the second flailer. Before killing another for good measure. Drac sweeps forward, heading off the first archer, even as the second sprints away across the sands. The rest of the raiders are fairly confident they can catch up, though. Rex finishing the final foe on the front line. and the rank and file setting off in hot pursuit of the one who seeks to escape. And sure enough, fast as he may be, he's running against the wind, and thus doomed to fail. Finding himself swiftly overwhelmed, the second archer soon falls. Yeah, obviously not much of a fight, but we'll take it. XP is XP, and loot is loot. Let's go ahead and shuffle our line real quick, tag a few items for repair, and then head back to Hikma. I think we're pretty much guaranteed to hit that 50k target. At least as long as we don't linger, since we're also obviously burning 600 gold per day at the moment. Gotta be careful, that payroll does add up. Yeah, just focus on the armor and weapons. Ignore the shields. Off we go. A hint of murmuring grows louder and louder until you can no longer focus. You put your quill pen down with the sort of energy the ink bottle can take without breaking, and step out of your tent. Mark and Rax are standing there bickering over who is the better shot. Seeing you, they waste little time asking if they can hold a shooting contest to decide who is right. I mean, one of you is a shotgunner and the other is an axeman, so I'm not really sure what you're trying to prove, but sure, why not? What's the worst that could happen? Feeling as though their arguments will never end, you give them the go-ahead to have their little competition before retiring back to your tent. Soon thereafter, you hear the arrows knocking, releasing, and finding targets. Things which go thwang soon go thwap, and the air is slowly filled with the din of a watching crowd. As you try to focus, you notice that the men have been shooting fervently for quite some time now. You step back out of your tent to find the two archers bickering some more, each one pointing a finger at the other, before picking up an arrow and angrily launching it downrange. Their targets aren't even targets anymore, but small bushes of arrow shafts, upon which break every other shot that lands upon them. Shaking your head, you order the two men to stop at once, before they use up every last arrow the company has. You know what, that does sound about right. Neither of them is really a precision shooter, but they certainly make up for it in stubborn persistence, and will definitely take the +1 resolve. I do find it funny that Rax is the one to have challenged Mark to a shooting contest, though. You'd really think it would have been like Arrow or Val. Alright, gotta peel off here in a sec. By which I mean right now. 32 a freet. No thank you. Yeah, we'll just beeline it straight back for Hikma. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? I feel like we will not be headed back in that direction for a while. Hey guys, you might want to poke your head out west real quick. I'm sure you'll be fine. And here we are. Hikma currently suffering from sandstorms. Yeah, that certainly tracks. Plus ambush trade routes, which actually, in conjunction, might make for some pretty good selling conditions. Oh yeah, look at that. Alright, one sec. Let me go ahead and clear out our inventory a bit. Then we'll figure out our next step. And we are back. With loot liquidated and 50k in the bank, but we can always use more, so let's hit up the arena. Ah, Nash Slashers. That's not too bad. Relatively safe for rookies. Unless, of course, it's a bunch of giants. Yeah, we'll play it safe. 3v3 versus enemies that can technically, potentially one-shot you is probably not something we want to play fast and loose with. We'll grab Rax, we'll grab, Arrow? Yeah. Since these guys don't have footwork. And then Ver. We'll almost certainly get swallowed, but, you know, that's just how it goes. Let's do this. Cleaners hurry about the arena. They drag away the bodies, collect what's worth collecting, and occasionally throw a trophy into the crowds, eliciting a mob-like rendition of the arena's battles in the stands themselves. The RetconRaiders are now a part of this affair. To those who are about to die, etc., etc. Oh, that's not so bad. One giant Noxerer. Still slightly concerning, but definitely could have been worse. As the gluttonous ghouls scrabble across the arena, the raiders hold their ground, forming up, weapons, shield at the ready. The crowd falling to a hushed silence as the promise of bloody conflict looms. The bone-clad bowman draws first blood, a pair of arrows sinking deep into the largest of the lurking horrors. The two smaller ones hurling themselves forward, one coming into contact with Rax, but all three trying to avoid Verlin's spear. Bowman puts a shot through another, smaller Noxerer's chest, and Verlin hops the line, discouraging one Noxerer and engaging the other, before swiftly swapping positions, nudging Rax into place. A sharp swing and the crescent blade bites deep. The Noxerer's arm lopped off at the elbow, gnarled hand scattering across the sands. A snatch and a gulp. Rax vanishes down the one-armed beast's greedy gullet. Arrow and Ver felling the first of the smaller two. Another well-placed shot, and the bloated beast bursts, Rax emerging, bloody and peevish from its sundered stomach. Arrow gives him a nod, then puts another shot through the final Nash Slasher's face. Oof. But Rax fails to seal the deal, with Arrow ultimately claiming the kill. A surprise to be sure, but certainly not an unwelcome one. Just another day in the arena. And more importantly, another easy win. Nicely done, Raiders. Let's get our guys re-equipped. That's the Orc Trophy for Rax and Doggo for Ver. And let's scope out these contracts. Hoping for nomads. Husan, the Vizier of Trade, is found surrounded by a harem of half-naked women. He is holding up a severed hand which, surprisingly, the women seem more fascinated with than disgusted, As he sees you, the vizier drops the hand and wipes his own on the shoulder of one of the women, this time garnering a fair bit of disdain, albeit slavenly muted. Husan snaps his fingers at a servant who rushes over with a jar of wine. The vizier sighs and shoos the servant away and snaps his fingers once more. A second servant realizes he's being called and comes forward, hurriedly handing you a scroll and speaks its words aloud. Monsters have been spotted near Hikmah, and they are to be destroyed post-haste. The reward for this is not spoken quite so loudly. Instead, the servant taps the page where a number has been written. 1,000 crowns. Which is obviously a fairly trivial sum in the grand scheme of things, but, you know, we could certainly use some more pelts. Or scales, if they feel like throwing more serpents at us. Hopefully the 3 skull is our nomads and not an Afreet contract. Plunder, plunder, and yes, more plunder. The company has accumulated riches to rival a dragon's hoard. The finest armor and weapons are yours for the asking. Should you wish to hire a ship or a fleet of ships, you need merely snap your fingers. Vendors of all kind lay out their best wares when you are in town, most eager to help you find new ways to spend your gold. As your wealth rivals that of a nobleman, you no longer need defer to them. You could purchase your own noble title and lands, or take up the career of a merchant banker, should you ever tire of acting as nursemaid to this bunch of hard-headed, temperamental raiders. What, and leave them unsupervised? Well, that just sounds like you're asking for a bad time. One more ambition cleared. Oh, well, I mean, not what we're looking for, but a pretty tempting target. As the raiders set off in pursuit of the beasts dogging Hikmah's doorstep, they were surprised to soon stumble upon a sizable band of nomads, likewise following in the beasts' wake, though not as the raiders were to hunt them, but rather to instead pick over their victims, to comb through the bones and take the valuables that the beasts left behind. A brief debate ensued. Were these truly bandits, or simply opportunistic and amoral bone pickers? Either way, the raiders soon agreed. The world would be better off without them. The nomads, of course, disagreed, and thus the trial by combat began. Arrow firing a couple of warning shots into the ground. The nomads firing a warning shot in return right into Seymour's chest. And then the sides both stopped pulling their punches. You know, that part was just a formality. Yeah, that's probably what happened. I am curious to see if these guys advance on us, though. They did. And that answers that. Sigmar strays to the front, immediately inviting the swing of a blade, which cleaves into his padded armor, but leaves his flesh unscored. Other nomads rush forward, pocket sand deployed, with vicious precision. But thankfully, this hasty approach has also blocked off the line of fire from their back line, who are likewise forced to advance. And the rest of the raiders swiftly take advantage. Mal sweeps in on south, gutting a club-wielding cad. A few nomads hang back, providing cover for a short row of archers. Cetrus sweeps a spearman's legs. Val pinning him while he's prone. A second toss, taking out another. A blast on south. An unfortunate slinger staggering, blood gushing from his shredded face. Bones crack as random bats a bloodied bludgeoner out of the way. Rushing in, skewering a spearman on center. And the battle rages on, a swift exchange of arrows, ending in relative stalemate. Zarmal perforates another punk, then steps north. Valen putting a spike through a scimitar-wielding scoundrel's face. A few more strikes on Seymore, his armor taking the worst of it. And Seymore swings. An exsanguinated spearman spiked into the ground. The knight-errant moving up immediately after, menacing the nomad back line. Another wave of shrapnel. Another nomad torn asunder. Whilst Mal tops another mug off. Wow, really figured you'd all be running by now. Cetrus hammers another hooligan. Random takes aim. A swing of his censer. 3 bodies tumbling over one another in haphazardly broken fashion. Rook caps a clubber through the knee. Rassel wrecks a ruffian's nose. And Seymore strikes. 2 more scoundrels fall. A backhand swing, catching the third with the perfect freeze frame. Nice. And the fight is all but won. The rest of the nomads eagerly seeking their escape. But alas, there is none to be found. An archer falls, jutted through with javelins. Arrow takes down the slingman next to him as well. And then another for good measure. The rest of the raiders rally, quickly cutting off avenues of escape. Seymore crushing yet another skull. Rassel cracks another knee. Rook running the second to last through. And it's over. The final foe felled by random happenstance. Again, obviously not much of a fight, but, you know, we'll certainly take it. That said, I don't think we'll end it on that note. Let's go ahead and rotate, and then we'll finish hunting down these beasts. Honestly, not expecting much of a fight from that either, considering it is just a 2-skull, but you know, that'll at least leave us off on a slightly less awkward stopping point. Back in Hikmah, ready to plan our next move. Really? Okay, wait, hold on. No. East. Southeast. Straight into Hikmah. Really feels like they probably could have handled this one themselves. There we go. 14 hyenas. I'm certainly not complaining about that. Might actually be kind of dangerous, depending on how many frenzied are in the mix. Yeah, that's fine. I think we'll be okay. With the nomads thusly dispatched, the raiders resume their hunt for their original prey, tracking them down not far outside of Hikmah. A bit of a wild goose chase. The raiders would have caught up with them had they simply stood guard on the city outskirts, but they certainly weren't complaining. Despite being thrown for a loop, there was now one less pack of opportunists, preying on unwary travelers. And soon it would be two. Oh, wow. Really? Okay. Apparently there are no frenzied hyenas at all. Which does mean this will make for a fairly trivial fight. But, again, I'm not necessarily complaining. I mean, XP is XP, and we can use the pelts. Giannis rushed in, drawing first blood as he struck a beast smartly across the hip. A toss from Tommy, another beast reared back, its limb likewise maimed. And the rest of the raiders rushed forward, the pack showing a peculiar lack of cunning. No attempts to flank, no attempts to pick off the weaker of their number. They simply crashed into the company head-on. And were bloodied for their efforts. The first beast fell, riddled with arrows. Another broke as Diego circled round. Rassel crushed a second to the ground. Random moving in. A swing of his sensor, cracking ribs and doling out concussions. Rook swiftly finishing a third, and yet another crushed by a swing from Cetrus. The first of the fearsome beasts began to frantically backpedal. Drakiith gutting another before it could run. Another stumbled, cross-hatched with javelins. Stumbling to the ground entirely as shrapnel swept its legs. Trip finishing one. But at least a few continued to fight. The ones farthest from the front line. Now rushing in, incensed by the scent of blood. And now showing some degree of cunning as they circled. Tommy, suddenly surrounded, Giannis fell back, moving to support. Mal cutting one beast down to size, then setting in on the next. The raiders rallied, reinforcing their rear. A random swing, striking another down and breaking the rest of the pack. In more ways than one. Merely half the pack remained, all seeking escape. The last of the bloodied beasts scrambling for the safety of the horizon. The raiders intent on making sure it was not reached. One dispatched by Diego. Another running against the wind. Rook impaled another. Giannis claiming a third. Cetrus the fourth. Oop, and then walking into the single cloud of gas in a 5-mile radius. But I'm sure he'll be fine. And Trip taking the fifth. A lone limping beast continued its loping retreat, but the raiders doggedly pursued. And soon it too fell. Not to the raiders' weapons, but to the fangs of a fellow canine. Even though, yes, I am aware that hyenas are not, in fact, canines. I have a really hard time calling them cats, though. They really do feel like something else entirely. And now it's a moot point, because they're dead. That said, let's go collect our pay. Right after we rank up Wrestle. Oh, wow, and he just hit soft cap. Okay, let's see what we're doing here. I remember his build was slightly out of order, but, Right. Okay, well, this one's easy. Looks like we never gave him rotate, so we'll go ahead and grab that now. Aside from that, we'll take the +3 melee, we'll take the +4 RDef, and we'll round it out with... Oof. Fatigue is tempting, but I think we'll go with the initiative. Bump that over 100. And good to go. Let's head on back. Husan, the Vizier of Trade, is already outside his palace when you return. He has a few men in silken garb standing at his side. When you deposit the hyenas' corpses, these men hurry the bodies away. The vizier remains with a few guards at his sides. He snaps his fingers and a servant hands you a chest of crowns. The vizier nods. Well done, Crownling. We shall make good use of these parcels which you have delivered in good time. Parcels? You thought you were here to help solve a monster menace. As guards hurry you out of the square, you eye one of the wise men using a protractor to start making measurements, while another man sets up a pedestal and begins to paint. You know, I think we've had that before, and I'm still not sure what it's about. Like, obviously, they're going to use the hyenas for parts, much as we did, but I don't get where the painting comes in. Like, the protractor, at least, you could argue is used for tailoring. I don't know, maybe someone else can enlighten me. That said, yes, I think that brings us to a good place to call it. Not much else to say, really. We'll hit the pause button for now, we'll take care of the usual off-screen bookkeeping, dump our excess inventory since we're still getting decent prices at the moment, and we will pick up here next time, as we once again hit up the arena, and then check in on that 3 skull, which, again, should hopefully be our nomad contract. Either that or a freet, in which case we'll just move on. I'd rather avoid bolder foes. But either way, see you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Bowman, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.